This is part 2.
Certain backpack items are dropped when you parachute on. You have to retrieve.
I died here, properly dead, and then jogged all the way back to retrieve my backpack.
ये क्या बकरी? फिर आ रहा है.
This time though, tactical approach, kept my distance, because I have come to the conclusion that the spear guys are the real problem.
Okay. Okay, तुम अच्छा shroud ला ही सकते हैं. Enshrouded. Okay, जितना देर रेस्ट कर सकते हो उतना देर इस अपने shroud में रह सकते
I
हैं.
noticed stairs leading underground.
नीचे कहीं जा रहा है ये रास्ता.
The game started making demonic noises, so I turned around and evacuated.
यार चलो यार. अभी जाएंगे तो पक्का मरेंगे.
I went back to my base when I remembered I was starving.
तो कुछ खाने के लिए बनाना है. Comfort with the flame.
I still do not fully understand the whole flame altar thing either.
Modify skill tree, refund them.
I don't know what it does, and frankly, I refuse to study it.
E. अभी तक एक भी नहीं गया.
I'm not reading all that. I will learn naturally by playing the game like a caveman. Much more immersive. Anyway, after all that psychological warfare, I sat by the fire and cooked some food.
Okay, बन गया. Actually ये गेम है एक कौन सा? A Monster Hunter World. उसका जो फूड एनिमेशन है, कुकिंग एनिमेशन, वो सबसे satisfying है. अरे प्लीज काम कर जाओ यार.
I set out to chop down some trees, or at least attempted to. Would have been nice if game given an axe immediately instead of making me discover forestry through trial. I spent like 5 straight minutes attacking a tree.
नहीं ऐसा नहीं होगा ये.
Eventually I realized the game actually expects you to craft an axe first.
चलते हैं आगे. इसी तरफ से जाना लगता है मुझे. ये क्या है? बकरी.
After that I decided to go on a little exploration trip.
सब कुछ shrouded ही है.
First thing I noticed, there are goats everywhere in this game.
बहुत सारा बकरी है.
One wolf started chasing me the second it saw me. Big mistake. I found some abandoned tents. No people.
इसमें और कोई आदमी नहीं है सब.
I found another book and I tried reading it. The Raiders. Zero enthusiasm. Every single journal in this game is basically the same thing. Captain Ark right here. We are starving. Morale is low. Survival impossible.
कौन है यार गाइड? हर जगह पे उसका नोट है. Sleep. Okay.
I also found a bed and laid down for a bit. Health bar filled up nicely, but apparently my character was missing warmth.
Warmth. अच्छा warmth नहीं है. Okay. इसमें क्या है? Arrows. यहाँ ये क्या? ये क्या है? Health potion. दूसरा क्या? Wooden arrow. आगे जाना था हमें. नीचे है ऊपर. You cannot proceed without grappling or seek a path through the shroud instead. जाना है क्या यार? मैं कहाँ पे? Okay हाँ सीधा रास्ते पे. I think हमने उधर जाना है. Okay अब देखते हैं. नहीं वही है.
Technically, the fastest route was through the murder fog, but I did not want to go through that because I was scared of backpack retrieval mission. And considering I had already died enough time to be qualified as a religious myth, I would say that fear was justified.
ऊपर चढ़ने की कोशिश करते हैं.
So instead, I tried finding another path. Eventually, I found this weird contraption near a cliff. Apparently, you need a grappling hook to cross it, which of course I could not craft because that was a classified military technology.
और ये तो अच्छा बात है कि सीढ़ी चढ़ने के लिए एक अलग से बटन प्रेस नहीं करना पड़ता. F. अटक गया. You will need a grappling hook to cross.
I tried jumping the gap anyway, and this is where we realize the devs are malicious because the platform was on impossibly far away. They placed it just slightly too far, the exact distance where your brain goes. I can probably make that.
नहीं कर पाएंगे. Shroud से होके आना होगा.
So naturally, I decided to jump off the cliff instead.
तो बहुत नीचे है. बराबर तो नहीं जाएंगे. Okay, damage तो हुआ.
I survived with few scratches and spinal damage. There was a pathway. I followed it, thinking it would lead me toward the objective.
More.
It did not. It led me to a cave opening on both ends. I don't know the proper word for it. Cave hallway, rock throat, whatever.
Shortcut. Okay.
Behind it was this long wooden staircase, so obviously I climbed it. And at the top, I saw the source of the smoke.
अच्छा मैं मार्कर हमारा बहुत नजदीक है. हम क्यों इधर उधर घूम रहे हैं?
I was not supposed to be there yet, but how was I supposed to know that?
ये रहा वो जगह. अभी तक तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि इन्होंने मैप जो डिजाइन किया अच्छा डिजाइन किया है. कैरेक्टर में भी थोड़ा सा टाइम देते तो अच्छा होता. और
I found a house first, but it was locked.
ये क्या है? एक्सप्लोड करेगा ये. ओह कुछ ना कुछ होगा. यूज आइटम लॉक्ड. और क्या है ये?
I got lost for a while and somehow wandered directly into the place I wasn't supposed to be in to begin with.
मार दिया.
Lots of angry people, extremely aggressive community. They killed me almost immediately. I woke up at my base, all my stuff lost. I took the same jump off the cliff route one more time. The arrow dudes were way above my level, and for some reason, they were shooting arrows from around crotch height.
अरे यार ये औकात से ज़्यादा बड़े enemies हैं.
I don't know if they had horrible posture, advanced pelvic combat technique. My moment of self-awareness was interrupted when one of them spotted me and started rapid firing pelvic arrows directly into my organs. I tried attacking him with my wand first. Did absolutely nothing.
तो कुछ लग भी नहीं रहा होगा.
I switched to my sword and got up close like a proper crackhead. The guy eventually went down, but not before removing basically my entire health bar. I got some loot off him, so technically that's called victory.
अरे यार कुछ तो हुआ. ये क्या है? Metal scrap.
Then his friend arrived and killed me immediately. So that victory lasted about 4 seconds.
Okay.
Back at my base again.
वहाँ पे जाके करना क्या है? ठीक है वेपन हमारे पास अच्छा नहीं है. प्लस आर्मर वगैरह भी कुछ नहीं है.
While checking my backpack inventory, I noticed that I had fireflies in them.
Fireflies. Equitable. An animal also blessing with additional.
And at that point, I genuinely considered throwing them at the enemies. I still have no idea what 90% of the item in this game actually do.
एरा भी हो रहा है.
Eventually, I made it back to the area where I died last time, but this time I stayed sneaky.
सामान कम से कम ले लेंगे ना.
I decided not to fight them anymore. They were strong, and I was getting tired of dying over and over just to sprint across half the continent to recover my backpack.
अरे यार हमें करना क्या है?
I had enough of the game for one day, so I quit for the night and accepted defeat.
अरे यार मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. रात भी हो गया. अरे काम करते इसको बंद करते हैं अभी.
So, several days later, and an update which immediately reset my skills.
Double jump, allow jump a second time while you're born.
Originally, I wanted to unlock double jump. The problem was double jump required 4 skill points, and I had 2. So instead, I picked merciless attack again.
अरे ये unlock करते हैं अभी. Armor rework.
There was also armor rework. I wouldn't know much about that. I still don't own any armor.
You can unlock powerful perk and increase armor points. मेरे पास कौन सा armor point है? कुछ है भी नहीं. क्योंकि अभी रात हो रहा है. सोने का क्या ऑप्शन है?
It was nighttime. One thing I missed was the Witcher system where you can meditate until morning. Instead, I was standing in the dark waiting for the sun like a farmer.
Strengthen the...
While killing time, I decided to check the flame altar again. The second playthrough was helping things make a little more sense. Not much, just enough to be dangerous. Let's modify skill tree. So upgrading the altar increases the time you can survive inside the shroud. 5 minutes becomes 6, 6 becomes more than 6. Revolutionary mathematics. I also noticed something called Shroud Passage Level, which raised a possibility. Maybe not every murder fog was meant to be walked through. I also wanted to craft the grappling hook. Unfortunately, I did not have the materials.
ये hook करना था craft. क्या लगता है string?
I needed string to make string. I needed plant fiber. To get plant fiber, I needed enough vegetation to start a landscaping company.
Okay, string कैसे craft करेंगे? ये क्या हो रहा है?
While gathering material, I found a glowing dead goat. The goat offered no explanation, just fur. So I went searching for plant fiber, and whatever else the game had decided was essential for survival.
Okay. ये वो वाला हो गया.
And that's when I ran into fog zombies. Honestly, not that bad.
इनको lock कैसे करना था? Okay.
I switched over to magic wand. Either the update had approved it or I had finally lowered my standard enough to appreciate it. Either way, it felt stronger, smoother, less like I was threatening enemies with magical disappointment.
So magic wand अच्छा काम कर रहा है.
The zombie dropped shroud spores. I still wasn't entirely sure what those did.
Okay, plant fiber. Midnight lily.
I spent the morning collecting more fiber and cleaning out more fog zombies. The magic wand was doing work now. Most of them died before they even get close. For the first time in a while, I almost looked competent.
एक और footsteps सुनाई दे रहा मुझे. Yes, कोई scanner mechanics होता है.
I returned to base hoping I finally had enough material to craft the grappling hook. I did not. So back into the fog I went.
ये तुम्हारे पास है. और 6 ही है. चाहिए 10.
I killed more monsters, gathered more spore, and found another journal.
Our lips whisper, bring.
Same story as always. I returned to base, still missing resources. I've been now, yeah. Since my crafting ambitions were getting nowhere, I decided to focus on the first actual main quest. Find the sleeping survivor. Simple enough, at least on paper. I set off toward my objective and found some honey along the way. One thing I noticed, the bee don't sting you, which feels wrong. Bee should sting, that's their whole brand.
पीसी पे थोड़ा heavy run करता है. ग्राफिक उतना अच्छा भी नहीं है, फिर भी.
Anyway, I followed my usual route, the famous fly off the cliff strategy.
गलत रास्ते पे तो नहीं आ गया.
I think the update may have changed part of the map. I'm not completely sure. Maybe the terrain was different. Maybe I was different. Maybe repeated head trauma was affecting my memory. Hard to say. What I do know is this. The jump that worked before did not work this time.
Try करते. Oh.
Shit. This time it actually hurt because there was a decent amount of useful stuff in it. Not legendary gear or anything, but enough that I felt hurt. This time I made the decision. I was going through the mother fog.
एक बार नीचे से भी चल के देखते हैं है रास्ते या नहीं है.
On the way, I found another journal. Nothing important, the usual collection of misery, warning, and people discovering the living inside magical fog is bad for your health.
Read. Captain's journal date.
Looked around for a while. Eventually, I found the path leading into the fog. At least I hoped it was a path.
यहाँ से लगता है.
The route didn't feel particularly convincing. Still, I pushed forward, partly because I wanted my backpack, partly because I wanted more fog zombies.
आज तो आ रहा है.
The path confused me though. Nothing about this seems to lead toward where I had died.
Oh, यहाँ क्या है?
Those things dropped Shroud spores, and by this point, I was collecting spores with the enthusiasm of a gambling addict.
एक और है.
Then I noticed something even stranger. A device that restores your Shroud timer.
Restore time in the Shroud.
Interesting. That means there had to be much larger fog regions somewhere out there.
चलो ये भी मैकेनिक्स ठीक है. Hey, underground.
Along the way, I found more fog zombies, killed them easily. The magic wand was doing most of the work now. The fog itself was becoming interesting too. Lots of loot, lots of resources, dangerous sure, but the kind of dangerous that usually hides good reward.
ये भाले वाले लोग तो ज़्यादा खतरनाक हैं. अरे यार ये तो इसको दिख गया.
Eventually, I reached the location where my backpack should have been, except it wasn't there. Turned out, the game hadn't dropped it where I landed. It dropped it where I jumped.
अब लो यार ऊपर कैसे जाएंगे? रास्ता तो कुछ दिख नहीं रहा है.
At that point, there wasn't much I could do, so I kept moving. I know I could probably kill the pelvic arrow people if I really committed to it. The problem wasn't the fight. The problem was the lot. The problem was the sequence of death and emotional damages. And frankly, I wasn't in the mood. What makes this even funnier is that I still haven't fully realized I was in the wrong place. Not just the wrong route, the wrong area entirely.
नीचे चलते हैं, नीचे से भी रास्ता है.
Previous night, I quit the game. I started having doubt, so I opened the map.
ये था हमारा टास्क. यहाँ था या यहाँ था?
And there it was, proof.
वो यहाँ जाना था मैं.
I wasn't supposed to be fighting the crotch-height archers at all.
इन लोगों से बेकार लड़ा था. कहाँ है वो? ऊपर है.
That wasn't the part of the objective. I had basically spent hours accidentally invading somebody else's neighborhood.
अच्छा मुझे लगा था कि इसमें है. ये लोग से लड़के देखे क्या?
I tossed one attack toward them. Nobody noticed, which immediately made me question why I was even bothering. So I left. For once in my life, maturity won.
स्लिपिंग सवा ये रास्ता लगता है कि ऊपर जाएगा.